I just saw Kung Fu Panda 4 and I want to talk about it, because it could have been way worse. Now, there's 3 things I want to mention before I continue this video. 1, I am a really big fan of the Kung Fu Panda franchise. I love every single one of the movies, except maybe the 4th one, but we'll get to that later. The first movie I think is really good. The second movie is peak fiction. The third movie, though not as good as the second one, is still really good. And it was just a perfect trilogy, and they didn't need the 4th one. Second, this is not sunburn. This isn't me being sleep deprived. This is an allergic reaction. I've been suffering from this for 3 weeks now. I want the suffering to end. And lastly, I started watching Avatar: The Last Airbender last week. An amazing show. I'm talking about the animated one. I didn't watch the live action. The animated one is so good. I tried watching it for the first time during my junior year of high school, which was like 2 years ago. I didn't get to finish it. I don't know why, but I wasn't really enjoying it, but I decided to try watching it again, and I love this show. It's so good. I'm about halfway through season 3 right now. I cannot wait for the finale, and I cannot wait to start Legend of Korra. I've heard some mixed things of Legend of Korra, but I can't wait. I can't wait for the animated movie coming out in 2025. But anyway, Kung Fu Panda 4. Now, I was someone who was very against Kung Fu Panda 4. The first 3 movies made a perfect trilogy. A good beginning, middle, and each one had a very valuable lesson for both the audience to learn and Po to learn and grow as a character, where in the 3rd movie, he finally became the dragon warrior he was destined to be. It just as a whole is a perfect trilogy that did not need a 4th movie. But the more I saw about the 4th movie, the more cautiously optimistic I became of it. And then I saw the leaked final battle and I thought it was really cool. I'm like, you know what? I'll give this movie a chance. So I saw it in theaters. I even got the popcorn bucket. I liked it, but it could have been way better. Let's talk about the positives, because there's some things I did like about it. The animation is amazing, the best of the franchise so far. And this is actually the lowest budget for the Kung Fu Panda movies so far. And to be fair, the Furious 5 aren't in it until the very end. And even then, they didn't have any speaking roles, so that automatically saved them $50 million. The action is really good, probably the best of the franchise so far. The Chameleon is a really cool concept, and the idea of the story they were trying to tell here is pretty great and actually fits in with Kung Fu Panda. However, the movie just doesn't feel like the other movies. It felt like as if they had all the ingredients to cook something fantastic, but the thing is underbaked. Every once in a while you get a couple bites that are like, okay, this is pretty decent. However, the entire thing just isn't a complete meal. I did not do a good job with that analogy. Just scratch that. There's good things in the movie, but as a whole, the movie just isn't as great as the other movies. It's not bad. It's not a bad movie. However, it just isn't on par with the Kung Fu Panda movies. We had 3 movies that created a perfect formula. However, this movie just falls flat. It feels more generic than, you know, Kung Fu Panda. The movie focuses way more on comedy and action and less on the great storytelling that made the first 3 movies so great. We don't know anything about the Chameleon. She is a super underbaked villain, probably the worst villain so far in Kung Fu Panda. Tai Lung was great in this movie, by the way. He is like probably one of the best parts of the movie. However, General Kai and Lord Shen, I mixed up the characters' names. I'm such a fake fan. This sucks. Lord Chen, not Lord Zhen. Lord Chen and General Kai have very little screen time and they have 0 speaking roles, so like what's the point of having them in here? Also, I'm pretty sure General Kai died in the spirit world, which is where all of them were from. That doesn't really make sense. But, you know, you're not supposed to think about that because the writers got very mad once you poked holes through their story. And it just felt like they just had to throw in these villains here to add something special to this movie. They're latching on what made the other movies great, trying to level up their movie, and it just doesn't work. This movie needed more time in the oven because there's great concepts in here and it could make a great movie on par with the first 3. But just, it's underbaked. However, there is one thing that was cooked perfectly, and my favorite part of the movie was the ending, when Tai Lung walked up to Po and was like, maybe Oogway was right about you. What? Redemption? Out of all the characters, Tai Lung is probably the best character out of all those villains to get redeemed. Seeing him finally acknowledge Po and being like, okay, this guy, I can see this guy being the Dragon Warrior. And then at the end, when he's the last one to walk into the portal that Po made, he turns to the side and is like, see you on the other side, Dragon Warrior, and walks into the portal. Oh, shit. It was really good. I love that so much. I love that. I know some people have some issues with it, but me personally, the Sigma male Giga Chad Alpha here, I got a little bit emotional at that scene. I'll admit it. Got some tears building up here, you know? I'll admit it. Fantastic scene. Absolutely love it. Now, I totally understand why this movie feels kind of all over the place, isn't as baked, and that's because this movie went through some development hell. We found out some behind the scenes info on this movie recently, and holy shit, I totally understand why this movie turned out the way it is, but it could have been way worse. I'll just read off some to you. I'll link in the description down below so you can fully read it. It's crazy, it's wild, it's wacky. For example, Lord Shen, General Kai, and the Furious 5 were very last minute additions, which is why they didn't really have any big roles in the movie. We found out Universal mandates all of the big tentpole animated movies to have big name stars attached to them, which just is shitty for voice actors. Like, That's their entire job. And one of the co-directors, Stephanie Ma Stine, wanted it to be very much in line with Kung Fu Panda 1 and 2. However, everyone dismissed her input because she's seen as a nobody in the crew, which is such a shame. But the most important part, early on, Kung Fu Panda 4 was considered to be live-action animation hybrid and featured humans. I posted concept art of the human Chameleon, then the Collector, even though we already had Kai the Collector, versus Po. Seems like Zhen would have been human too. They'd have to come to Human City. Apparently, to add insult to injury, one of these versions had Po, the protagonist, stuck in a box for 20 minutes. This movie could have been way worse. I am so glad of what we actually got, but it could have been better, but also it could have been way worse. That's my review of Kung Fu Panda 4. It could have been worse. That's all I gotta say. Shit. I gotta go play Fortnite. I just watched Megamind vs. the Doom Syndicate, and yeah, it's pretty bad.